Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I have to be honest with you, I spent the last 48 hours just living inside the source material we pulled for today, and I feel like I've just walked out of a very loud, very emotional concert that ended way, way too abruptly.
That's a good way to put it.
My ears are still ringing, and my heart is kind of heavy.
That is probably the most accurate way to describe the experience of digging into the life and the very sudden death of Jarad Anthony Higgins.
Though the world, and I think history at this point, knows him as Juice Wrld.
Right. The voice that essentially defined a generation of heartbreak.
But here's the thing that kept hitting me as I was reading through these files, and I want to get your take on this immediately. We usually talk about career trajectories in terms of decades.
Yeah, the slow burn.
You know, the drill, the 10-year struggle in the underground, the slow breakthrough, the peak years, the gradual decline. With Juice Wrld, we are looking at a story that is compressed into, what, 2 years?
Essentially, yes. It is a story of extreme velocity. It is a timeline that moves so fast it almost blurs when you look at it closely.
And that's the hook for me today, the sheer speed of it. We were talking about a kid recording on a cracked iPhone in a high school hallway, and then you blink. Yeah. Literally, it feels like you blink, and he's signing a $3 million deal with Interscope.
It is a meteoric rise in the truest, most literal sense of the word.
Meteoric is the right word.
Because meteors burn incredibly bright, they move faster than anything else in the sky, and often, well, they crash. And that is the other side of this paradox we have to look at.
The crash. The tragedy.
Exactly. Balanced against that astronomical 1 in a billion success is a lifelong, very public, and very visceral battle with addiction.
A battle that ended his life at the deeply young age of 21.
21. It's a number that just, it hangs there.
So our mission today, and I want to be clear to you listening right now, this isn't just a biography. We aren't just going to list dates and albums and say, and then this happened.
No, that would be a disservice to the complexity of who he was.
We're going to unpack the phenomenon. We need to understand SoundCloud rap and emo rap, not just as buzzwords people throw around, but as actual cultural shifts. We need to talk about his process, which, honestly, reading about it, it defies the laws of physics.
It defies the logic of how we think music is made. It completely upends the traditional songwriting manual.
And finally, we have to navigate the legacy. Because even though he passed in 2019, the business of Juice Wrld is booming. There are massive questions here about posthumous albums, about the ethics of finishing a dead artist's work, and how we manage the art of someone who isn't here to say yes or no.
And we have a massive stack of sources today.
Biographies, police reports, discography notes, interviews, estate filings, the whole 9 yards.
It's a lot to get through.
So buckle up. Let's dive in.
Let's do it.
I want to start with the geography. Because usually when we talk about Chicago hip-hop, we have a very specific image in our minds. We think of the South Side. We think of drill music. We think of Chief Keef. We think of grit and concrete.
Right. Aggressive, nihilistic beats. Music that reflects a very specific, very hard reality.
But Jarad Higgins, he is a little different. He was born in the city proper, December 2nd, 1998, but he didn't stay there.
No. His family moved. They moved to the south suburbs. Homewood, Illinois.
Homewood, Flossmoor. Now, for people who aren't from the Chicagoland area, help us place that. Is that the hood?
Not exactly. I mean, it's a suburb. It's middle class to working class. It's very diverse, but it's distinct from the inner city. It's a place with good schools like Homewood Flossmoor High, which is actually known for its arts programs.
Okay, so it's a totally different environment from the one that birthed drill music.
Completely. And that distinction matters. It really, really matters for his sound.
And the home life was different, too. This wasn't a chaotic household in the traditional sense. It was a single-parent home. Yes, his parents divorced when he was just 3 years old.
Yeah. Which is a pivotal age for any child. And sadly, his father passed away later, in June 2019, just months before Jarad himself died. But for the vast majority of his life, he was raised by his mother, Carmela Wallace.
And Carmela sounds like a force of nature in the source material.
She was. And she was extremely religious, a very conservative Christian.
The sources mention a specific rule she had in the house, which I found fascinating, considering who her son became.
No hip-hop.
Right. The future king of SoundCloud rap wasn't allowed to listen to rap.
Explicitly forbidden. She felt the lyrics were too violent, too misogynistic, just generally destructive. She wanted to protect him from that influence. She wanted a holy household.
That is such a classic parenting backfire moment, isn't it? You ban the thing, and it becomes the forbidden fruit.
Oh, 100%. It becomes the most interesting thing in the world.
But it also did something else, something unintentional but crucial for his artistry. It forced him to look for music elsewhere.
Exactly. If he couldn't listen to Jay-Z or 50 Cent in the living room, what was left?
Video games.
The loophole. The ultimate 90s and early 2000s loophole.
I love this detail because it makes me feel so seen. He discovered music through Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Guitar Hero.
Think about those soundtracks for a second. If you grew up in that era, those playlists are burned into your brain.
Oh, I can hear them right now. Goldfinger, Rage Against the Machine.
Blink-182, Panic, At the Disco, Black Sabbath, Megadeth, Billy Idol. This was a curriculum of rock, pop punk, and heavy metal. It was a whole education.
So while other kids in Chicago are absorbing the rhythmic patterns of trap music or the storytelling of Nas,
Jarad is subconsciously memorizing pop punk chord progressions and heavy metal riffs.
he is internalizing melody. He's learning about angst, but a specific type of suburban rock and roll angst.
The nobody understands me, I'm all alone themes of emo music.
This explains so much about his future sound. When people ask, why was Juice Wrld so melodic? Why did he sing as much as he rapped? Why did he sound like that?
It's because his foundational education was Billy Idol, not Biggie Smalls.
And he wasn't just a passive listener. This is key. He wasn't just consuming this stuff. He was dissecting it.
No, he was an active participant from a very young age. He was a multi-instrumentalist by the time he was in grade school.
The sources say piano at age 4.
Age 4. His mother paid for lessons. Then he picks up the guitar on his own. Then the drums. Then the trumpet for the school band.
So let's debunk a myth right away. There is this criticism of SoundCloud rappers from the old guard, that they're just kids with laptops who don't know music, who just mumble over beats.
Right, the mumble rap stigma, that they have no musicality.
But Jarad Higgins had music theory in his blood. He understood structure. He understood chords.
He knew how to build a song before he ever learned how to record one. He understood harmony. He understood rhythm from a drummer's perspective. That is a massive, massive advantage.
However, while this musical prodigy is developing, there is a shadow growing right alongside it. And we have to address this early on because it is not something that happened after the fame. It started way before.
The substance abuse. The sources are startlingly clear and frankly very disturbing on this. He started drinking lean in the 6th grade.
6th grade. I mean, pause on that. That is an 11 or 12-year-old child.
Yes.
For you listening who might not be familiar with the terminology, what exactly is lean? We hear it in rap songs all the time, but what is it chemically?
It is a mixture of prescription-grade cough syrup, specifically containing codeine and promethazine, usually mixed with soda, like Sprite, and often hard candy like Jolly Ranchers to sweeten the taste.
So it's an opioid cocktail.
It's a powerful opioid cocktail. It is a downer. It slows your heart rate, gives you a feeling of euphoria and detachment.
And he's doing this at age 12?
And by 2013, his freshman or sophomore year of high school, he has moved on to Percocet and Xanax. These are heavy, heavy pharmaceuticals.
And these aren't party drugs in the same way.
Yeah.
Xanax is a benzodiazepine for anxiety. Percocet is a powerful opioid painkiller.
Exactly.
Why? Did the sources give us any insight into the why? Was it just peer pressure? Was it trying to look cool?
It is complex. I mean, there is the peer element, sure. He was around other kids who were experimenting. But there is also a clear thread of self-medication that runs through his whole story. He talked later about anxiety, about feeling overwhelmed. He wasn't just partying. He was trying to numb something inside him.
It's just heartbreaking. You have this brilliant, talented kid, and he is already chemically dependent before he can even drive a car.
And yet, there is this weird duality in his teenage years. He was smoking cigarettes, right? A pack a day, pretty heavy. But the sources say he quit smoking his senior year because of health issues.
Wait, he quit cigarettes for his health, but he was popping Xanax.
It shows the rationalization of addiction, doesn't it? It's a very common psychological pattern.
How so?
You cut out the bad thing that makes you cough or affects your stamina for basketball, but you keep the medicine that makes you feel mentally okay, even if it is physically destroying you in a much more insidious way.
So we have the tension building. The strict religious mom, the hidden drug use, the rock and roll influences. And then around 2015, his sophomore year, he starts trying to get his voice out there.
Enter Juice the Kid.
Juice the Kid. One word. Where did the name come from?
It is a callback to the 1992 film Juice, starring Tupac Shakur.
Tupac. Okay. Now, Tupac was a massive influence on it.
That's huge. But specifically, the character Bishop in that movie, the haircut, the attitude, Jarad identified with that rebellious energy.
And eventually, he modifies it. He drops the kid and adds world, but spelled W-R-L-L-D.
which he said stood for world. It represented his ambition of taking over the world.
Which is incredibly ambitious for a kid recording in his bedroom, but also sort of prophetic.
Totally. And let's talk about that recording setup, because this is the birth of the SoundCloud aesthetic. He wasn't going to professional studios in downtown Chicago.
He's using his phone, right?
Literally his smartphone. He would find beats online, often leasing them for $20 or $30 from producers he met on the internet, and he would record his vocals directly into the phone. Sometimes he'd use the white Apple headphones with the little microphone on the cord.
That explains that gritty, slightly distorted, almost lo-fi sound that became his signature.
Exactly. In high-fidelity audio, distortion is a mistake. In SoundCloud rap, distortion is an emotion. It sounds raw. It sounds urgent. It sounds like he is right next to you, whispering in your ear or screaming in his car.
So he is uploading these tracks. He graduates high school in 2017. And now he hits that classic crossroads, the what do you do with your life moment that everyone faces.
He needed money. Music wasn't paying the bills yet. So he gets a job.
A factory job.
A car parts factory, I believe. And this is my favorite detail of his pre-fame life because it is so relatable.
Yeah.
He lasted exactly 2 weeks. He realized immediately, I am not built for this. He was dissatisfied, maybe a bit depressed by the monotony of it. He essentially got himself fired or just walked out so he could focus 100% on music.
That is a terrifying leap of faith. To look at a steady, if boring, paycheck and say, no, I'm going to bet on my voice memos.
It is, but it paid off almost instantly. He joined this internet collective called Internet Money.
Which is huge in the producer world, run by Taz Taylor and Nick Mira.
Massive. It is a hub for beat makers and artists. It gave him a community. It gave him access to better beats. And in June 2017, he releases his debut EP, 999.
999. That number became his logo. He had it tattooed. It was on his merch. What did it mean?
It is an inversion of 666. If 666 is the mark of the beast, of evil, of negativity, 999 is taking whatever bad situation you're in, whatever demons you have, and flipping them into something positive.
That was his entire philosophy.
It was. And that EP had a song on it, a song that would change everything. It was called Lucid Dreams.
Which brings us to section 2, the meteoric rise, 2018. The year the world caught fire.
If 2017 was the simmer, 2018 was the explosion. It all happened so fast.
So walk us through the mechanics of this rise. Because it doesn't start with a record label. It starts with a blog, right?
It just starts with Lyrical Lemonade.
And a guy named Cole Bennett.
We have to explain Cole Bennett to you if you aren't deep in this world. In 2018, if you were a rapper, Cole Bennett wasn't just a video director. He was a kingmaker.
A taste maker.
He ran a blog and a YouTube channel called Lyrical Lemonade. His videos had a very specific style. Colorful, trippy, with cartoonish effects and quick edits.
If he directed your video, you were guaranteed millions of views. It was like a cheat code for the music industry.
It was a guaranteed cosign. So Juice releases an EP called Nothing's Different in late 2017. It has a song on it called All Girls Are the Same. Lyrical Lemonade picks it up. Cole Bennett reaches out. They shoot the video in February 2018.
And I've seen that video. It is so simple, but it is so charismatic. It's just him in this trippy room, and you can't take your eyes off him.
And the industry reaction was instantaneous. A bidding war started. Every major label wanted him.
And Interscope Records won.
For $3 million.
I want to be the skeptic here for a second. $3 million. For a 19-year-old kid with a couple of SoundCloud hits. Does that make business sense?
In 2018, yes. Because streaming was taking over, the labels realized that these kids on SoundCloud had built-in fanatical fan bases. They didn't need radio play. They didn't need MTV. They already had the numbers.
So Interscope wasn't paying for potential.
No, they were buying an existing movement. They were buying a sure thing.
And then they officially re-released Lucid Dreams as a single in May, and it becomes ubiquitous.
It was everywhere. It peaked at #2 on the Billboard Hot 100. By January 2020, it had over 1 billion streams on Spotify alone.
Let's break down Lucid Dreams musically.
Right.
Why did it work? Why did it cross over from hip-hop fans to pop fans to rock fans?
It is the perfect synthesis of all his influences we just talked about.
It's all there.
It's built around a sample of Sting's Shape of My Heart.
Which is a beautiful, melancholic, very sophisticated guitar riff.
Right. So you have this classic adult contemporary pop sample, but then the producer, Nick Mira from Internet Money, puts these rattling trap hi-hats and a Fivvy 808 bass under it.
So it is rock meets trap, pop meets hip-hop.
And then Juice's vocal. He isn't rapping in a monotone. He is wailing. I still see your shadows in my room. It is pure, distilled teenage angst. It resonated with everyone who had ever had a breakup.
Now, this is the part that blows my mind. We have the hit song, we have the debut album, Goodbye and Good Riddance, which comes out in May 2018. But the way he made these songs, tell us about the no writing rule.
This is the key insight into his genius, and it's something people really struggle to comprehend. Higgins stated later that Lucid Dreams was the only track on that entire album that he wrote down on paper or in his phone.
The only one out of the whole album, all those hits.
The only one. Every other song, All Girls Are the Same, Lean With Me, Wasted, was done impromptu, freestyled.
Explain that process to me, because when I think of freestyling, I think of someone at a party trying to rhyme cat with bat and stumbling. This is fully structured songwriting with choruses, verses, bridges.
It is a process called punching in. He would go into the booth, the producer plays the beat, Juice listens for maybe 30 seconds, just gets a feel for it. Then he tells the engineer to hit record. He does 2 lines, stops. The engineer keeps it. He listens back, thinks for a second, then does the next 2 lines, stops.
So he is building the song brick by brick in real time.
Exactly. He is composing the melody, the lyrics, the flow, and the harmonies simultaneously off the top of his head. He said if he was alone, he'd do it into his voice memo so he wouldn't forget the idea.
So he is composing and performing at the exact same time.
Yes. It is a pure flow state. He described it as just letting the emotion out without a filter. If he stopped to write it down, he felt he would overthink it. He felt it would lose its purity.
That requires a level of cognitive processing speed that is actually scary. It's like his brain was a supercomputer for melody.
It is why he was so prolific. Most artists take weeks to write a song. Juice could record 5, 6, 7 fully finished songs in a single night.
But 2018 wasn't just a victory lap. It was also a year of tragedy for the specific community he was part of.
The SoundCloud scene was incredibly fragile. In November 2017, just as Juice was starting to bubble, Lil Peep died of an overdose.
Who was arguably the pioneer of this emo rap sound.
He was. He laid the groundwork. And then in June 2018, right after Goodbye and Good Riddance came out, XXXTentacion was murdered in Florida.
And Juice knew them, right? Or at least knew of them.
He looked up to them. He was becoming friends with X. The sources say they were actually planning to meet up for the first time.
Wow.
So when X died, Juice released a 2-song EP called Too Soon. It was an immediate reaction. The cover art was literally a screenshot of his text messages with XXXTentacion talking about supporting each other.
That is so raw. It is like grieving in real time on the internet for millions of people to see.
And that brings us to the genre itself. We keep saying emo rap. In 2018, Spotify named it the fastest growing genre on its platform. But what is it, really?
Yeah, because to an older listener, emo means My Chemical Romance or Fall Out Boy, and rap means Tupac. Mixing them sounds like oil and water.
But musically, it makes perfect sense. Both genres are about high emotion. Both are about being an outsider. Both are about heartbreak. Juice Wrld was the bridge. He took the aesthetics of emo, the vocal melodies, the lyrics about depression, the singing, and put them over trap beats.
Did he like the label? Did he want to be called an emo rapper?
He had a nuanced take on it. On one hand, he didn't want to be boxed in. He famously said, "I don't make emo rap, I make music." But he also acknowledged the core truth of it. He believed music needed to be dark because, in his words, the world isn't a light or happy place.
He wasn't trying to sell a party fantasy?
No. Even his upbeat songs have this undercurrent of sadness or anxiety to them.
We talked about his rock influences, but his hip-hop influences are interesting too. He cited Kanye West as a major one.
Specifically, the album 808s and Heartbreak.
Which came out in 2008 when Juice was, what, 10 years old?
Yeah. And Juice called Kanye a time traveler for making that album. Because if you listen to 808s today, the heavy auto-tune singing, the raw vulnerability, the focus on loss and heartbreak, it basically predicted Juice Wrld's entire career 10 years early.
It laid the blueprint.
It absolutely did. And Juice took that blueprint and added the punk rock ethos of Billy Idol and the grit of Chief Keef. It was a unique cocktail.
Let's talk about the lyrical themes, because this is where the connection with the audience really happened. He wasn't just rapping about how much money he had. Well, sometimes he was. But mostly he was rapping about how much he was hurting.
Vulnerability is the key word. He talked about addiction not as a cool party trick, but as a cage. As a trap he couldn't escape.
The song Lean With Me is the perfect example of this.
It is almost a public service announcement set to a trap beat. The music video is literally him at an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. He sings, "Told her if I die, I'ma die young." He was hyper aware of his own mortality.
And that is the thing that makes listening to him now so difficult. He was telling us what was going to happen.
He was screaming it from the rooftops. He was turning his struggle into art that millions of kids could relate to, hoping it would help them, even if he couldn't save himself.
And before we move on, I want to emphasize that his freestyling wasn't just for the studio. He would go on radio shows, Tim Westwood in the UK, Funk Flex in New York, and just go for an hour straight.
Over classic boom-bap beats, Eminem beats, Nas beats. He proved he could wrap circles around traditional MCs. He valued that duality, being the sad boy singer for his albums and the lyrical monster on the radio.
He had to prove he was the complete package.
He did. He shut up all the critics who said he couldn't really rap.
So we move into the height of his fame. 2018 turns into 2019. He is arguably the biggest new artist in the world.
He is inescapable. He drops a collaborative mixtape with Future called World on Drugs.
Which is a huge cosign. Future's a titan of the genre.
Exactly. Then he's on No Bystanders with Travis Scott on Astroworld, one of the biggest albums of the decade.
He's collaborating with BTS, the biggest band in the world, with RM and Suga. He's working with Ellie Goulding and Benny Blanco on pop hits. He is crossing over into pop, K-pop, electronic.
Everywhere.
And he goes on tour with Nicki Minaj.
The Nicki World Tour, a massive European arena tour. He was her co-headliner.
And this is where we have to talk about the lifestyle. Because the pressure of touring, I don't think people realize what that does to a person physically and mentally.
It is absolutely grueling. You are in a different city every night. You are performing for thousands of people, giving them all your energy. Then you get on a bus or a plane. You don't sleep. Your body clock is a mess.
And if you are already struggling with anxiety and addiction,
the drugs become the only way to cope. They become a tool for the job. You take uppers to get on stage, downers to sleep. It is a vicious, vicious cycle.
His personal life was also incredibly complicated during this time. He was living in Los Angeles with his girlfriend, Ali Lottie.
They had a very intense, very public relationship. You could see it all on Instagram. They were always together. But there was deep tragedy there, too, behind the scenes.
The sources mention this, and it's just awful.
Lottie revealed later in interviews that she was pregnant with Higgins's baby on 3 separate occasions.
3 times?
3 times. And all 3 resulted in miscarriages.
My God.
She attributed it to the stress of their lifestyles, the constant movement, the chaos, the drugs. Imagine dealing with that level of grief while having to smile for cameras every day and perform for 20,000 people.
It's an unimaginable amount of pressure. And the addiction was ramping up. Everyone around him could see it.
He was getting out of control. But here is the glimmer of hope that makes the end so much more bitter. The sources note that Higgins had actually agreed to go to rehab.
He was going to go.
Yes. His team had intervened. He had agreed to it just weeks prior to his death. He knew he was in too deep. He wanted to get clean.
But he never made it.
He never made it.
That brings us to December 8th, 2019, the day everything stopped.
It is a timeline that has been scrutinized heavily through police reports and witness interviews. Higgins was aboard a private Gulfstream jet. They were flying from Van Nuys Airport in Los Angeles back home to Chicago.
He was heading home for his birthday party, essentially, a delayed celebration.
He had just turned 21 on December 2nd, so he was 6 days into being 21 years old.
But this wasn't a normal flight. Law enforcement was waiting for them.
No. Federal agents had been notified that there were suspected guns and drugs on board. We don't know exactly who tipped them off. The sources suggest it was the pilot, which is standard procedure if they see illegal activity, but the police were waiting at Midway Airport.
So the plane lands, they taxi to a private hangar,
Yeah.
and the police are there.
They board the plane, they start searching luggage, and they find a lot.
70 pounds of marijuana.
32 kilograms. Vacuum-sealed bags in multiple suitcases, along with several handguns and high-capacity magazines.
Now, 70 pounds. That is not for personal use. That is a significant amount. That's a trafficking charge.
It is. But that is a legal issue. That is not a fatal issue. His security guards were likely going to take the charge for the guns. He probably would have gotten a fine for the weed.
No. The fatality comes from what happened during the search.
According to witnesses from his team and the police reports, while the agents were searching the bags, Higgins took and swallowed several pills.
The narrative has always been that he swallowed them to hide them from the cops?
Yeah.
Is that true?
That was the initial theory, panic swallowing. It seemed logical, but his videographer, Chris Long, who was on the plane, disputed that later. He said Juice didn't care about the police finding a few pills when they already had 70 pounds of weed. He implied it was just usage. Or maybe a mix of panic and addiction. We'll never know his exact intent.
But we know the pills were Percocet.
Yes. multiple Percocet pills, a powerful opioid.
And the biological result is not up for debate.
No. He started convulsing. He went into a seizure right there on the tarmac inside the hangar.
Did they try to save him?
They did. The federal agents actually administered Narcan, which they carry for situations like this.
Narcan is the overdose reversal drug. Naloxone.
Right. They gave him 2 doses. And according to the reports, he did wake up briefly, but he was incoherent. He was immediately transported to Advocate Christ Medical Center in Oak Lawn.
And he was pronounced dead.
At 3:14 a.m. Just gone.
The autopsy report came out later. What was the official cause?
Toxic levels of oxycodone and codeine in his system. It was ruled an accidental overdose.
The reaction from the music world was... it was just a gut punch.
It was like the air was sucked out of the room. Drake, The Weeknd, Chance the Rapper, everyone posted tributes immediately. It felt like the entire industry stopped for a day.
I remember there was some anger, too. Rapper Boosie Badazz went on this rant.
Yeah, Boosie blamed the pilot. He called him a snitch. He basically said if the pilot hadn't called the cops, Juice wouldn't have panicked and he wouldn't be dead. He later walked that back, realizing it's more complex, but it showed how angry people were. They wanted someone to blame for an unspeakable tragedy.
And then there was the eeriness of his own lyrics. It was inescapable.
The song Legends. He wrote it in memory of Lil Peep and XXXTentacion.
What's the 27 Club? We ain't making it past 21.
It is one of the most haunting, prophetic lines in modern music history. He didn't just sing it, he lived it and died by it.
So Jarad Higgins is gone. But this brings us to the final and perhaps most complex part of our deep dive, the aftermath. Because Juice Wrld, the artist, he didn't stop.
In fact, commercially, he got bigger. Much bigger.
Let's look at the first posthumous album, Legends Never Die, released in July 2020.
The numbers are staggering. It debuted at #1. That was expected. But listen to this. 5 songs from that album were in the Billboard Hot 100 Top 10 simultaneously.
5 at once in the top 10.
Yes. The only other artists to ever do that in the history of the chart are the Beatles and Drake.
That puts him in the rarest of air. That's God tier.
In 2020, the year after he died, he was streamed over 5.9 billion times on Spotify. He was the 4th most streamed artist globally, above many living superstars.
Why? Why did the popularity grow so much after the death?
I think the death validated the lyrics. When he was alive and he sang about dying young, it was sad, it was art. When he actually died young, those songs became sacred texts. They became prophecies. Fans felt like he died for them in a weird way. He was the martyr of their generation's anxiety.
And the estate, run by his mother and the record label, has kept the content coming.
There's another album, Fighting Demons, in December 2021. This one was tied to an HBO documentary, Juice Wrld, Into the Abyss.
I saw that. It is incredibly hard to watch.
It is. It uses tons of archival behind-the-scenes footage to show the drug use in graphic, unflinching detail. It doesn't glamorize it at all. It's a very stark look at his mental health struggles.
And the releases just keep coming. Girl of My Dreams with Suga from BTS got him his first #1 on the digital song sales chart. And they've announced a final studio album, The Party Never Ends.
And even recently, late 2024, they are still innovating. The Fortnite collaboration.
This is fascinating to me. Epic Games added Juice Wrld as a playable character, a skin, in Fortnite. They did a virtual concert inside the game.
Some people find that dystopian. A digital ghost performing for kids in a video game.
It is a bit Black Mirror.
It is. But you can also see the other side of it. It introduces him to a 12-year-old today who might have been too young to know him in 2018. It keeps the legacy alive for a new generation.
But amidst all the commerce, the skins, the streams, the posthumous albums, there is one part of the legacy that feels truly pure. The live-free 999 Fund.
This is his mother's work, Carmela Wallace.
Tell us about that.
She established the fund to support programs for young, underserved populations, specifically focusing on addiction, anxiety, and depression. She's using the profits from his estate to fund this.
She could have hidden the cause of death. She could have said heart failure to avoid the stigma. A lot of families do.
Right. But she didn't. She leaned into it. Her goal is to normalize the conversation about mental health and addiction. She wants to say, my son struggled, and if you are struggling, it is okay to get help. It is about turning that 999 concept into real-world action.
It's an incredible act of grace, really. So as we wrap up, we have looked at a life that was short, fast, brilliant, and tragic.
The ultimate paradox.
A kid who wasn't allowed to listen to hip-hop, who ended up changing the sound of hip-hop forever.
He made it okay to be vulnerable. That is the key takeaway, I think. He told the toughest kids in the room that it was okay to cry. He gave a voice to a generation's pain.
But I want to leave you with a provocative thought, something for you to chew on. We talked about his process, the freestyling, the no writing. Because of that workflow, he was a machine. Reports and leaks suggest there are thousands of unreleased Juice Wrld songs in a vault somewhere.
Just sitting on hard drives, complete songs, rough demos, voice memos.
In this new era of AI, where we can recreate voices with perfect clarity and with this massive backlog of unfinished demos, who gets to decide what is a Juice Wrld song now?
It is the great ethical dilemma of the modern music industry, and he is case study number one.
Do we let a producer finish a beat? Do we let an AI clean up a vocal? Are we honoring the dead by finishing their work? Or are we just consuming them?
If he didn't put his final stamp on it, if he didn't say it's done, is it art or is it just content?
That is the question. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
See you next time.